Hello, Legion. Welcome to I Still Call It a Lariat. This is a landmark episode. This is episode number 20, guys. We've been on the air for 20 straight episodes. I appreciate everyone that's helped us out with this. Showtime, even you. I appreciate you on this one. With me, as always, Mr. Showtime, Michael Wright, otherwise known as Talent Name. How you doing today, Mike?
Do I have it? Is it right here?
It is right there. You are pointing at it this time.
You know me, Steven. I'm living the dream. Though, even as world champion of the universe and undisputedness, I don't get a name. I'm just Talent Name. I'm sure that if I could have the graphic, I would also have the women's tag team title next to it as well.
We'll try to fix that in post-production. Oh man, big week in wrestling. Big week. We had a Clash at a Castle. We had an I Quit match, which we both kind of quit from. A lot of stuff over in AEW with tournaments and stuff and doors being forbidden. TNA put on a quality production as always. But before we get to all that, as always, I like to give my shout outs. First of all, before I go to my nonprofits, I'm going to shout out Coal Mine again. They had me on the show this week. It was a special Father's Day episode, and it was also Brock, the host's birthday, so it was kind of like a birthday party for him, having us all on there. As always, they are friends of the show. I appreciate everything that they do with helping us to promote, and we enjoy helping them as well. Brock, Cole, Miko, Emily, all of you guys, we always wish you the best. We love you guys.
Happy birthday, Brock. Sorry I couldn't make it. I was doing Father's Day things, as you do on that day.
As you do. So, to our nonprofit, Tap Cancer Out, an amazing organization. As always, information for this will be in our description, and it's also on all of our social media accounts. This is a organization that helps out with places like Alex's Lemonade Stand, American Brain Tumor Association, Isabella Santos Foundation, Little Pink Houses of Hope, Camp Sunshine, Christopher's Haven, the Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center at Johns Hopkins, curecervicalcancer.org, First Descents, and Tom Coughlin's J Fund. Again, real important cause that I always help out with this one. Please, even if it's $1, please help out with this. Like I said, information for Coal Mine and information for Tap Cancer will be in our description. As always, it is also with all of our social media information, whether you're part of our Facebook group or following us on Instagram, on Twitter, any of them. And if you're not following us on that stuff, why not get on that stuff for us?
I can use more followers than the porn bots.
Mostly Showtime. For some reason, all the porn bots follow Showtime.
I don't blame them.
I mean, he's a good-looking dude. I'll give it to him. I don't like to give him too much credit, but there's that. So, to wrestling news. Around the wrestling world, as we like to call it. And it really is the wrestling world at this point, because everyone is going everywhere. And here's the proof. AJ Styles is going to wrestle in Japan for Pro Wrestling Noah. This is a big deal. This is outside of AJ doing a couple of tours for WWE in like 2016. This is the first time that he's wrestled in Japan since he left New Japan. So that's kind of a big deal. That goes along with Io Sky wrestling for Marigold. A lot of these people, a lot of this talent, it's been called a forbidden door for years. I don't think that door is closed at all anymore. This has become...
Ain't so forbidden.
It's not so forbidden anymore. Now it's just a door. People are just going everywhere. The world is flat like a son of a bitch, isn't it?
No, it's round.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Outside of promotional news, it's really all I have for around the world. Into TNA. We have a lot of fallout from Against All Odds. Honestly, I thought this was a really good pay-per-view. I thought they did a really good job. Don't get me wrong. I was not a huge fan of the PCO match, but I'm not a huge, that type of match isn't my style anyway. So it's not that it was necessarily a bad match. It's just not the type of matches that I get into. But outside of that, TNA put on, again, a quality performance. I thought the Steve Macklin, Santana versus the Rascals match was a great opening tag team match. I thought it
was
did
good.
all the things that tag team matches are supposed to do. Even the main event, which again, it was one of those type of matches that I'm not always into. It did everything it was supposed to do. It was a no DQ match, so it hides a little bit of Matt Hardy's kind of age in this one and the fact that he has to cover up some things. All around Showtime, what were your thoughts on Against All Odds just in general?
This was good. They were in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, and
They
the
were in
Chicago
Chicago.
crowd actually looked like they were happy to be there. So good for you, TNA fans in Chicago. I'll give credit where credit's due, even though Albany still sucks.
It's
But
Albany.
Cleveland was suspect as well. So I don't want to hear it's just them somewhere in Ohio. I don't remember exactly. I thought the show was awesome overall. You got to get past the production quality. I thought that it was a little like the camera work was kind of off. Like it was like low quality resolution, and that really bothered me a bit in the beginning. But you kind of get blind to it after a little while. I'm with you. The Santana Macklin versus the Rascals match was really really good. There was a few other really good matches on this. I thought there were some questionable decisions. Why Frankie Kazarian beat Joe Hendry, I'm still kind of scratching my head about. We had talked about this the other day, where it's almost like I think that they might be trying to delineate their top stars versus the stars that can make an impact in TNA. Where like you're not going to send someone like Moose to TNA unless you're going to have him go in there.
You mean NXT?
Yes, I'm sorry, NXT. I keep doing that. You're not going to send somebody like Moose over to NXT to like put over somebody else because he's a huge star in their mind. But like Joe Hendry can go over there because he's still a rising star. So I think that was just kind of their way of like showing the line where maybe Frankie is the bottom of their main event talent and Joe Hendry's the top of that like up and coming talent that might be doing a little bit more. So just something that I was kind of calling out. I thought it was also interesting that the Nemeth boys didn't take out the system. I thought that they would win those titles. It seemed like they were primed to. I think it would have given that feud a nice spark. The system just coming out looking great. All three of them. Oh, I'm sorry. All four of them retaining titles. Yeah, there was an earlier match for the women's tag team titles. I still think it's weird that one half of the women's tag team isn't part of the system. Like,
isn't part of the system.
Just bring her in. It's cool. Like you've already embraced her to be your tag team partner, your friends. Just bring her into the system. But so I just thought there were some questionable decisions, but at the same time, all these matches were great. We talk about how AEW is like where the best wrestle or whatever. The TNA has solid wrestling matches if you're into that, and it has pretty good storylines to go with it. I think that their problem is that their production quality is a little subpar. But all in all, I really enjoyed this, and in all honesty, a lot of this I enjoyed way more than I enjoyed Clash at the Castle. So we'll get into that in a minute. But this was a great show, and if you're looking to get into TNA, this is definitely a good place to start.
I thought there was again. Were there matches that were not as good as other matches? Yeah, but that's on every show. But at the same time, I thought this was a solid, as far as a show goes. I give this a solid B minus maybe at the most. Like this was fun to watch. You get a little bit of that crossover appeal with Tatum Paxley taking the open challenge from Jordan Grace. We figured it was going to be someone from NXT. We were hoping it was going to be Roxanne Perez. It would have given them a nice like 1-1 maybe, and then do a rubber match. I would like to see that. Who else was out there? Oh, the Chris Bay and Ace Austin versus Eric Young and the Walking Weapon. I'm
Josh
drawing
Alexander.
Josh Alexander. Thank you. Drew a blank on his name for a second, which that hurts because I really like the guy. I thought they put on a really good match as well. There
It was
were a
really
couple good, like really good matches on here. Like you said, I do question Frankie going over on Hendry at the same time. Joe, we've been questioning whether or not Joe Hendry can go, and I said if he can't have a good match with Frankie Kazarian, it kind of means he can't have a good match. And they had a good match. I thought it was quality. I thought they did. I'd like to see Hendry. I know he is a bigger dude, but I'd like to see him steer a little bit away from some of the power moves a little bit, just because though he is a bigger dude, he's not built like a formidable powerhouse. And I think he needs to live. I think some of his matches, some of his moveset, he needs to live a little bit more in his wheelhouse a little bit. Don't get me wrong, like hitting a regular suplex is fine, but like picking up from the ground for the suplex was a little off for me. But
do you know he reminds me of, like, body style, not like wrestling style or anything like that. Because he reminds me an awful lot of Buff Bagwell. He's around the same size and you know, kind of in shape as well. Where if you noticed, Buff did some power moves here and there, but he also added like the high flying mix. The blockbuster was something that he did as his finisher.
Yeah, he would do cross bodies and drop kicks and stuff.
Exactly. So like he showed he used his huge frame, but his shorter stature, like 6'3". So it's not like I'm not saying he's 5'5", but Joe Hendry is 6'2". And if you listen to his promos, 250 pounds of pure motivation.
252 pounds.
Yeah. And so I could see him really benefiting from a little bit more, not high flying. I'm not saying like, let's get silly and start doing crazy stuff off the top rope, but those cross bodies from the top rope, doing some more things that kind of move people around. Even his finisher move is something that is a little suspect. It's kind of like this big like side slam. I'm not even quite sure what you'd call that. Press slam or
I think he could even maybe benefit a little bit. Stone Cold before he became a full-on brawler. Like, I could see him doing that. Not even then, even when he first came in, like a little bit like if you meld that stunning and the ringmaster and even normal Stone Cold, like I could see Joe Hendry doing a Fez press and that being believable. I could see him doing maybe like a stun gun and that being believable, like stuff like that, where maybe there's a little bit of power to it, but a lot of it's momentum, because though he might be bigger than a lot of guys in TNA, he doesn't look overly bigger than most of the guys in TNA. And I think you need to still live in that world a little bit where you have to keep some of the believability.
Yeah. So his problem is that, like, being on the independents for so long, on the independents, he's a monster.
On the independents, he's a monster.
Yeah, but being in an actual promotion like TNA, they have some smaller guys in TNA, but once you get to the main event, he's on the smaller side comparatively.
That's what I'm saying, is I can't see him powering Moose around.
Yeah, not at all.
And his entire moveset is kind of along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but even if you look at someone
we're nitpicking at this point.
Oh no, this is us just talking about how we like a guy and we want to see him kind of take the next step. You know, he can even take some inspiration from someone like a Drew McIntyre or a Sheamus. Some of these bigger kicks. I know these guys are substantially bigger than him, but there are some things that he can kind of pull from to like really round out his moveset.
Or like a Damian Priest even.
Yeah, exactly. Like that sit down choke slam is a great example of I'm not Undertaker huge or whatever, but I can still do a choke slam in a unique way. Not that he needs to do the sit down choke slam, but like something like that. 100%. That's a great call.
Another thing I could see him doing is, and I'm surprised he doesn't do it, because especially he trains with them a little bit, is I could see him doing like a discus clothesline. And I could see that being like, because he is big enough, and like him doing the spin around for it, I think that would be really cool. But again, like you said, we want to see him take the next step, and I think his moveset might limit him from taking the next step to having super quality matches with guys who are at least his size, if not bigger. Even Kazarian is, though he is not a small dude, he is still a little smaller than Hendry.
I don't think it's going to hold him back. I think that it's more one of those things where he's going to start evolving as he gets more and more time with guys like this. It's more like he does. I don't think he does some of the things that we're talking about because he hasn't been in these types of matches. And as he's like gearing up and like talking with some of these veterans, like Frank Kazarian and some other people who've been in the industry significantly longer, that's when he's going to start learning and come up with newer, cooler things. I believe that he's going to kind of do some of the things that we're saying. We're just saying it now so we can say we said it back now.
Exactly. So in like at like the end of the summer, at the end of the summer or the end of the year when he's already doing this, when he's doing this stuff, well, we said it in June. So just so you know,
we said it like just mark it down.
On the show that is going to post for June 20th, we said it now.
June 18th, right?
Oh, June 19th. I'm sorry, June 19th. We are posting this show. I apologize. Not June 20th. I don't have much else for TNA. Honestly, like I said, I thought it was a good show. I think TNA is doing a lot of really good things. I think them doing stuff with WWE is going to help every aspect of what they do, including maybe even helping their production value. I could see if it's going to be a situation where they start funneling people to WWE, that one of our questionable things for them has always been money situation. They don't want to spend the money. Well, if WWE is willing to pay them money, though, for some of this talent, and it goes directly back into TNA, not into Anthem, it could be a situation where they might be able to start getting some better production quality and things like that. And I could see that being a real thing. And maybe even like start hiring a little bit better production teams and things like that.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot with AEW, and it was during this PLE, I guess you'd call it, because I don't think you had to pay for it as long as you're subscribing to TNA Plus. The production quality of the overall show was a little below average.
A little.
It took me out of it a little bit. They're better than that. They're weekly shows. So
TNA does do one thing that I like, though. They at least stay in their lane a little bit. I like they know that they can't fill a big house, a super huge house. And I know it's one of those things I harp on with AEW a little bit, is TNA always looks like the house is full, though. And I really like that about them. Like they maximize the absolute most out of whatever potential they're using. And I really like what TNA is doing right now. We've been saying it pretty much since the start of this podcast, almost 20 episodes. Every time we talk about TNA, we talk about how we like what they're doing. We just need, they're on the rise, and I can't wait to see where they finally get to, because it looks like a lot of stuff is going in their direction.
Yeah. Before you leave TNA too, I don't know if we mentioned this, but it was the return of Jeff Hardy as well.
Jeff Hardy debuted Against All Odds as well.
At the end, it took a little less time getting to the ring and dancing to go help his brother out, which was nice than in the past. But yeah, he kind of showed up. It sounds like the Hardy Boys don't have contracts with TNA at this point in time, so it's from a show-to-show basis, though their show dates have been expanded, at least Matt Hardy's have. So I think you're going to see a little bit of these two guys going nuts in TNA. And honestly, it might be the reason why the Nemeth boys didn't win the tag team titles, so the Hardy Boys can.
I also think Nick Nemeth I think he's getting too busy with wrestling related, but not wrestling business. He's very heavy on Busted Open right now. He's doing a lot of stuff in that aspect. I know he lost the IWGP Global title. I think, I hate to say it, but it might even be. I know they did the injury angle with him, and I don't think he was wrestling much during the injury angle anywhere. It, I don't want to say it like this, but it feels like a lot of the buzz and a little bit of the steam that he had behind that engine is maybe slowing down a little bit. And it's and I know you have said this in the past that maybe he is also slowing down a little bit because maybe they are getting one last run with him going back and being Dolph Ziggler again.
Yeah, I think that he may even be Nick Nemeth just to kind of get that name out in a bigger end. Like if he does decide to go and stick with more of a media personality or what have you, and like kind of getting his real name out there rather than being Dolph. But I think that they might be priming the pumps for him to go over to WWE for one more little swing through. I mean, he looks exactly like a Paul Levesque guy. So I think that he fits that mold. I could see him going out there. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is, but like I could see him going out there and having a nice little program with either Cody or Seth or someone who doesn't quite have something going on in the moment and just needs a really good opponent to put on a really
AJ.
good match. Yeah, AJ could be it. Because Nick can work face or heel. He can go out there and do whatever it is you need him to do. Just go out there, have one more hurrah, and then move on. If that's the way he's going, I'm not sure if I buy that he's sunsetting right now. But if he is, I can see that happening.
Well, and if he hasn't been dumb with the way he's done business, money wise, again, he is not young. I think he's in his 40s or close to his 40s. I forget. We looked it up the other day, and
It was like 40.
I think he was like 43 or something like that, right? Something like that, 44.
Yeah.
So he's not exactly the youngest dude on the roster, and
43.
43, and this could be like, it could be just him instead of him being like, well, I want to quit before my body tells me to quit. Getting something out of the way one last time and then be like, okay, well, I don't really need any of this. I'm making money with Busted Open with Sirius, and I'm making money doing this, and I have some good investments, and I wasn't dumb, and I bought a house in Cleveland instead of New York City, that sort of thing. I mean, it's where he's from. So moving on from TNA and Nick Nemeth and the Nemeth boys in general, we're going to go over to AEW. Just a precursor to this, guys. How we are going through AEW is what we kind of deem as kind of the most important news, or the least important to the most important news. We're going to be doing that throughout the show today. This is not necessarily a chronological order of things. So one of the first things, though, on Dynamite this week was Pac announced that he'll be in the Owen Hart tournament. I like that Pac actually acknowledged the fact that he hasn't been winning, and that he used the term, "I'm supposed to be a bastard and I feel like a bit of a bitch because I haven't really been winning." If this is going to turn things around and he does win the tournament, I'm okay with that. I'm actually we've said this the last couple times, or for a few months now. We really like him. I'm a fan of his work. He had a great match with Okada. I think he constantly has really good matches. I think the biggest issue with him has been for years now is that he just doesn't win. So it's hard to believe that he's a force. But if you have him go through this Owen Hart tournament, even if he doesn't win it, if let's say they do actually go the Bryan Danielson route for the win, but you have Pac go all the way through against Danielson, that gives you a little bit of steam moving forward. That gives you a chance to go after the international title and you believe it. That gives you a chance to go after the TNT title and you believe it. And you just, even if you don't give him a title, he just starts winning matches that aren't title matches. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm still pretty convinced as of this point that it might be MJF who takes that whole thing down if he announces he'll be in it. I haven't heard that he's going to be in it yet, but that's the one I think is going to end up taking this. And I could see it being Danielson versus MJF, but I'm with you. I would love to see him do it. I love his work. I think he's really, really talented. I'd like to see him win. He tapped out Jay Lethal, so that was kind of cool. Though I don't like to see Jay Lethal lose, but that's just because I play favoritism.
But Lethal's another one of those guys for AEW that he never wins.
Yeah, I mean, he's just he feels like enhancement talent at this point in time.
And he's probably one of the best wrestlers they have on that roster. And I mean, in and out of the ring, like he's one of the best promo guys that you could probably get in there. And he's another one like Pac, though, for the last year or two, just when they did the group stage tournament for whatever the last tournament was that they were trying to set it up soccer style, and Lethal was one of the only guys who had 0 points. Like they had guys who won every match, and they had Lethal in his grouping that lost every single match.
Mm-hmm.
It's disheartening, if anything else. Next we have Jon Moxley challenged Naito for he has the IWGP World Heavyweight title, but he challenged Naito for Forbidden Door. Naito is a former IWGP Heavyweight Champion. He's a former IC champion. He has held a lot of titles over in New Japan. Naito is... I'm trying to describe him. Okay, if Okada was New Japan's John Cena, Naito was their Randy Orton. If we can mirror images of them, I don't mean that he wrestles like Orton. I mean that if we're gonna say like one guy was the guy, okay, he's Super Cena, that was Okada. Naito is kind of the guy who, and he honestly wrestles kind of like a heel, so yeah, kind of makes sense. He's a little bit more the Randy Orton of the two. A little bit more of a high flyer. I know he was kind of a straight laced babyface when he first came into New Japan. Well, when he first started wrestling for New Japan, and then they did they call them their pilgrimages or whatever, and he went out and started training and wrestling in Mexico, and then came back and was part of one of the groups with Andrade, actually. And that's where they started doing like the Tranquilo stuff, and he kind of does this I don't care thing. I think it'll be a Jon Moxley match, just where we're at in the world with that one. We also at Forbidden Door are getting it is officially announced Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa. They've been building to this for a couple weeks now. I'd like to see where this goes. I'm kind of almost, as much as I love Toni Storm, I almost buy that Mina could win this one.
I buy it, but I don't think she will. I think that Toni Storm might be one of those untouchable people right now. When it comes to doing cross-promotional cards like this, I could see Toni being like, yeah, but Toni Storm can't lose. Tony Khan, I see Tony Khan saying Toni Storm.
Saying that. Yeah. I mean, unless Mina is not just cross-promotional now. If she is signed, I could see her. And I think she is signed. I think she has it like at least a working agreement. So I could see them still doing it. I think this all depends.
Make that your prediction. I think you should definitely make that your prediction for what we do Forbidden Door.
So that's not till next week. So I hate you so much right now. Maybe I should start doing the show by myself again.
Yeah. See how well that worked out.
Yeah. Lasted a week. This match, Orange Cassidy versus
get over freshly squeezed back, man.
Orange Cassidy versus Zack Sabre Jr. All right, I'm gonna say it. I'm not gonna be a fan of this match because I'm actually not a fan of either one of these guys.
Maybe they'll pleasantly surprise you.
Here's the thing. I think this could be a good match. Could be. I'm going to shock everyone. out of the two of these guys, I actually like Orange Cassidy more than I like Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr. looks like a giant Q-tip to me. He's 6'3" and 120 pounds and has zero like muscle build on him. He's what is it from the replacements? He's wiry.
He's wiry. What the shit is that?
It's what he looks like, man. Like he's the kicker from the replacements as far as I'm concerned. Look, I'm not taking away Zack Sabre's technical wrestling ability.
I mean, he's 6'1", 211.
That's a lie.
That's a lie. Right now.
Yeah, that's what he's billed at. That's a lie. I don't buy that. Unless he ate an extra couple sandwiches before he weighed in that day.
You do you, bud, but that's what I'm looking at. The numbers don't lie. The tail of the tape, if you will.
Yeah, the internet has never lied.
No, if it's on the internet, it has to be true.
Has to be true.
Look up Chad Gable.
We'll talk about that more later.
He did.
This is, like I said, this is a weird match. This is a weird match pairing just in general. They're not very similar. They're not. This could be a thing where styles makes the fight. Like they're very different styles, so this could be a good match. I will give it that much, where they have such a different style that this could be a very good match. But they are usually when they do stuff for Forbidden Door that's not anything title related, it's two guys that, hey, we're trying to figure out who the best version of this guy is. So this is the exact opposite of that. Moving on from that match, this actually opened up Dynamite this week, and that was the Elite offering Swerve Strickland a spot in the Elite. Who's been calling that one, man? Who's been saying that?
I was so excited when they started doing this. I really thought that they were going to take my advice. And like, I know we like to joke that like so-and-so is watching the show or listening to the show, but when that started to happen, I was like, no. I was like, they might be listening to the show. I really wanted him to say no like he did, and then be like, well, listen, we can make your life really difficult if you don't help us out. But I think what they're doing here, when they offered it up and Swerve is like, no, this is Swerve's house, I think that they're setting him up to lead the other 5-person faction of people who will come up and fight the Elite. And I think that we're about to witness the return of Hangman Page. He'll come back. He'll team with the Elite. He's got all that bad blood with Swerve, and we can go from there. He was kayfabe suspended, so like I could see him having an issue with the Elite. I think they're gonna just brush that under the rug. They did what they had to do, and Hangman's back, and he'll go right for Swerve. I think it's kind of the perfect setup.
I could definitely see that. I could also see them trying to do the opposites attract thing, and him and Hangman team up.
I can see that as well. That's what I mean. Like they could say that he has heat with the Elite because they suspended him and stuff, but when he left, they were so blood feudy. Yeah. I just don't see how you sweep that under the rug. Whereas in the EVP, suspending you because you were actually wrong and attacked referees is a reason why you could say,
it's not wrong.
You're right. Oh, sorry, my bad. I'll try to be better.
I think it's a nice little seed that they planted for some type of future storyline. That right afterwards they set up a match with Christopher Daniels came out, set up a match with
in the clunkiest transition I've ever seen in my life. We've had some bad transitions of the show, but nothing that was that bad.
It was a little rough.
Wait, everyone, stop fighting because there's a match about to start. What? oh, sorry, boss. We'll move along.
we'll give up this blood feud that we're about to have.
Ooh, shh, Granny sleeping. Let's.
So we get Jack Perry versus Dustin Rhodes. It was an okay match.
It was right. Dustin
it was
Rhodes bled.
Right.
He always bleeds.
Here's my thing. I read this recently, and I kind of do agree with this. Like, the difference in the use of blood between, like, WWE and AEW. Like, all right, so we will talk more about it later, but WWE has used blood more this week than I've seen them use kind of in years.
Sure.
And I feel like they make it matter a little bit more, where now when you see someone bleed on AEW television or on a pay-per-view or whatever, it's almost not a big deal anymore. It just happens. Moxley bleeds. Moxley bleeds every match. Dustin Rhodes bleeds almost every match. I'm sure there's someone else that bleeds almost every match. And I'm just kind of, I don't know. We don't need all, like, it takes away the blood feud if there's a blood in, if someone gigs every match.
What's really starting to drive me crazy is I miss it every time. Like, they'll hit something that made them bleed, but the camera pans away for the 15 seconds, 20 seconds, looking at the other person, and they turn back and, oh my goodness, they're bleeding. Like, if it's gonna happen, you have to do it seamlessly. It has to look real. Like, this didn't. I don't think this one did very well. I don't think at Clash of the Castle, when they used it, it was definitely not done very well. So, like, those are the things that just pull me out of it. It's like, not like, why cut the poor man? Like, just fight the fight then.
Just, yeah, like, you don't need it. But we get Jack Perry. He goes over. He is now qualified for the TNT title. Ladder match that's going to be at Forbidden Door. Dante Martin also qualified for the ladder match. That was on Collision. So the current field is Jack Perry, Mark Briscoe, Takeshita, and Dante Martin. I am happy for Dante Martin because when Dante Martin got hurt during the ladder match that he had for the Ring of Honor tag team titles, I legitimately thought that this 23-year-old kid's career was over. The way his ankle and his what is the lower one? The lower one's the tibia, because that's what Edge just broke, right?
Yeah, it's your tip fib.
I believe he broke his ankle. Like, his ankle went back, like his foot went backwards, basically. And he was a 23-year-old high flyer. I was like, this is it. He's not coming back. And he's come back and been able to do all the moves that he used to do and just as good. And I'm really happy for him. I don't think he's going to win this match, but good on him for being able to come back from that, because that was rough looking. If you ever go back and watch that match, Penta, it doesn't make, so my issue with it was it didn't make any sense to do because they were right next to the title belts. No one was fighting them for the title belt. They could have just grabbed the titles to win the match when that injury happened. Instead,
win the match. If you win the match, win the match.
Instead, Pentagon goes and grabs him, and off the top of, like, a ladder in the ring and two other ladders that are set up with, like, a scaffold style ladder, he does a Canadian destroyer through two tables that are on the floor outside the ring. And when Martin flipped over, like, he flipped over, took the bump, and his foot landed at the same time that he did. And it was basically he did exactly what Edge did he was going the other way. And it was rough. So, again, really happy Dante Martin has been able to make a full comeback, and he's been wrestling a lot of really good matches. I'm not always a big high flyer guy, but he does it so differently. It's almost like he floats through the air. Like, he flies. He actually flies. Like, I don't know how he stops time while he's up there, but he does it. So he's one of those guys where when you do something so differently, it's kind of cool to watch. And I'm sorry I'm gushing over this guy.
Yeah,
but,
go ahead. Keep going. I don't know.
But sometimes
talk nicely about AEW for a second.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm actually talking nice about somebody from AEW. I feel like this ladder match is going to be a lot of Jamokin. Jamokin, a lot of Jamokes.
Who do you want to see
Jamokin
right now?
Written all over it. I might actually
right now. Who do you want to see win right now?
Right
of the
now,
four that's in here.
Takeshita.
Yeah, I'm sitting on that too. Though I will say, week in and week out, Briscoe makes me giggle.
I love Mark Briscoe.
He's really good in the ring. So I could see me. I would not be unhappy if he won.
I would not be.
Is the one that I'm rooting for right now.
I don't know if they would do it though, just because they do have him as the Ring of Honor champion too. I realize it's.
When have they ever had a problem with putting more than one title on a person?
Sure.
Like, see Ospreay.
Speaking of which, we had Rey Fenix versus Will Ospreay for the international title. This match was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was good. I thought it was good enough. I heard someone say this match did exactly what it was supposed to do, which was set up the aftermath, which was Will and Swerve. Just so you know, the person that I heard that from is your boy Showtime, Mr. Camp. He
oh, nice.
I'll give him the credit on that one. Matt Camp is the one who said it originally, and I agree with him. I think this match, it was a good enough match to be a good match. It was also not them going 100% because they had to go to the Will and Swerve stuff. And I thought the Will and Swerve stuff was really good in this. I thought them doing the stuff with him not accidentally, but just reactionarily grabbing the title, because that looked really smooth when he just grabbed the title as he was doing it. It looked like it was just a reaction. I thought that was really good. So I am excited for Swerve vs. Will. I am also not excited because I don't see a reason for this match. And I also don't think that this is going to be, to go along with my co-host here telling me, making sense of it a few weeks ago, I don't think that this is going to be a title unification. I don't think that is happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's only that makes sense, but I'm with you. Like, this is not a match. I'm excited about this match because it's going to be a good match. I really believe that they'll put on a great show. But that's also AEW's problem, where the only thing they care about is a good match, where you can just kind of take two talented people and throw them in the ring and then see what shakes out. I like the storytelling aspect of wrestling. I want to have like a story that I care about. Like, I'd much prefer like to see these two guys teaming up against the Elite in this 5v5 rather than seeing these two fight each other.
So, Showtime, we talk about a lot. Overall, we both love good matches. There are matches that I know we both go back and we watch.
I'm in it for the wrestling.
So, if we had to break down a percentage on 100% percentage scale, where are you sitting? Storyline for wrestling versus wrestling.
I would say I'm probably in that like 60 to 70% wrestling.
Okay.
But again, like I probably am not watching wrestling as much as I do for 60 to 70% because I like the story that brings it all together to get that 100%.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that you don't need both. I'm just saying, like, where you're at. I think I'm a little bit more even on it, and I actually think I lean a little bit more on the story. I don't know about storyline, but storytelling. So I think I'm like 55-45, where as much as we did wrestle and I love wrestling matches, but I need a reason to care about the match. So I think I sit a little bit on the 55% storytelling, 45% wrestling. And don't get me wrong, if you give me Flair Steamboat, I'm going to watch it every time. But Flair
Yeah,
Steamboat
but the
also told
story
great stories.
surrounding that was
amazing.
phenomenal.
That's what I'm saying. And it was an athletic storyline. Like the
Sure.
storyline that they would tell about stuff was athletic. If you want to present an athletic, we said it months ago. If you want to do something that's an athletic form of wrestling business, go back, do early 80s Mid-South, do mid 80s NWA. Watch these guys be athletes, watch these guys be men and fight each other, but also have this amazing storyline that progressed over however long. How many times did you see Flair in those early years, those first like 6 title reigns that Flair had, and he would go a year plus as champion, and you would get a 4-month storyline between him and Funk, or him and Steamboat. Him and Steamboat, I think, was over like 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, it
the
was.
3 matches.
Yeah, it's the famous trilogy, but it was over an extended period of time.
And like I said, I think the storyline. We both agree the storyline is extremely important, and the matches are extremely important too. You need the matches to pay off to the storyline at the end of the day. I don't have much else for AEW. We will have more stuff coming next episode, not to mention predictions for Forbidden Door on June 30th from Long Island. I know they were going to do the Arthur Ashe Stadium originally, I believe. Moving it to a little bit of a smaller venue on Long Island is probably a better option. Also, from what I understand, Arthur Ashe Stadium is the one complaint I've heard about from a lot of people that tried to go to some of those shows was it was a bit of a bear to get to. So it's one of those where like you can't just take the subway to it. I think like you would know better.
Drive down long. Yeah, you have to drive down throughout Long Island for it. It's on a really busy highway, I think.
Yeah, and they said like you would have to take the subway and then catch an Uber or a cab or something there, and it was just, even the cabs, they would only drop you off X amount of way, so you were at like the edge of the parking lot. Like everyone that a couple of those shows that they did at Arthur Ashe, even though they filled them the first couple times, they said it was just a bear to get to. So I think moving it to the new stadium or the new arena that they're doing it in Long Island, I think it's a better option. So moving on to the other show that had a pay-per-view this week, WWE SmackDown. SmackDown was a go-home episode before Clash at the Castle. A couple big things happened on the show. We had LA Knight show up at Logan Paul's house in Puerto Rico. I thought this was a really funny segment, especially since the guy, Logan Paul's security guard or whatever he was, is there, and he's like, "Oh, your boy from LA is here." You know who they're talking about, obviously, your boy from LA. And there he is, just drinking a mimosa, talking on the phone in the pool, doing LA Knight stuff. I thought this was a really funny segment.
So is LA Knight's new thing just showing up at people's houses? Like, is he in my yard right now?
I mean, is he? Can you hear him?
Yeah. Yeah. Like he seems like he did it with AJ. Now he's doing it with Logan Paul. Like,
listen,
this guy's gonna have too many restraining orders.
Listen, if AEW has proven anything to me, it's that you can break into someone's house and be the biggest babyface on the planet afterwards. Swerve.
Fair.
And
at least LA Knight hasn't done anything too bad to make him go heel, just like showing up.
Yeah, like he hasn't like hung over an infant's crib. God, who would do that and then get cheered? Swerve.
Life.
I am looking forward to this. I think it's time Logan Paul lost that US title too.
I agree.
We don't see enough title defenses off of him. We don't see him enough. I'd rather see him start being used. If they're going to use him part-time, I'd like to see him just be a part-time attraction. Then he doesn't need a title to be a part-time attraction. He can be just a guy that we hate because most people hate him. He has a punchable face.
I love him. I think he's fantastic.
I love his work. I also think he's a perfect heel. He has a punchable face.
Sure.
What's
making me nervous right now is the fact that the way they're working this, it makes me feel like he almost won't be in the Money in the Bank stuff, and I would like to see him in the Money in the Bank tournament.
I would like to see him in that. But yeah, who knows? Maybe they'll have it. They'll have them do something where I don't think this will be what will happen, but have him lose it on SmackDown somehow, and then put him in Money in the Bank. I don't know. I don't think so. Let's see. Before we go into the most important, let's go with Carmelo. Carmelo has set his sights on Money in the Bank. That was a pretty good promo spot. I could see Carmelo being in Money in the Bank. I know we kind of set who we thought were going to be in it last week. It looks like they're kind of already blasting our brackets to hell the way we put it. So yeah. I could definitely see Carmelo doing it. I could see Carmelo. I could see Carmelo both being in there and possibly even winning it realistically. Just if they're looking to push somebody to the moon, I could also see him getting injured in the first 5 minutes of the match and Jamokin on the outside for most of it.
Yeah, I don't see Carmelo winning this right now. He on SmackDown next week or this week, he'll be facing off against Tama Tonga and Randy Orton, which feels very much like he will win this match and be in Money in the Bank, where you have kind of Tama Tonga and Randy Orton kind of canceling themselves out. So the two of them do shenanigans. I don't know. Can you get counted out in a 3-way these days? I don't remember. They keep changing all the rules of these matches. There's no DQ, but you can get counted out, or only when it supports the storyline or whatever.
Stupid. You can quit over stupid stuff. We'll get to that later.
You can't pass out during an I Quit match anymore.
I'm not triggering you yet. Give it a few minutes.
Talent name is not happy.
Talent name is not happy. All right. The go home segment for this whole show was pretty much AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes going back and forth in a war of words. AJ calling Cody a quitter, telling him he's quit everything he's done. It's kind of not wrong. I dug most of the lead up to this match. You said it. We didn't need Cody. We didn't need the first Cody AJ this is about respect thing. We needed this.
This is what I wish the last build up was for the great match we got at Backlash.
As opposed to, let's go to the PLE. Clash at the Castle. Can you tell that talent name is not happy?
This, in my opinion, is the worst PLE of the year from WWE.
I agree. I will say this, and I'm not absolving them of this not being a great show. The issue with this show is that they wasted that crowd. Wasted. But if this was just the pay-per-view of the month that they were doing, if it wasn't a foreign crowd and that crowd wasn't as hot as they were, I don't think everyone would be as mad that this pay-per-view was as mid as it seemed. Mainly because, and I'm saying it was all those things, but overall since January, WWE has managed to deliver on almost every single pay-per-view. Even their bad ones were still way better than they had been for years at this point.
You know,
this is the one.
They've done so much good stuff over and maybe they should have some built-in credit, but that's not how this works. But I thought Elimination Chamber was really good.
I thought Elimination Chamber was good. I thought
WrestleMania was great, but we're just not even going to talk about WrestleMania because it doesn't count. It's too big, and it's a spectacle in its own right, so I don't think it's a fair comparison.
I thought Backlash was good.
Backlash was great. I thought Backlash was really, really good. I think that Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles match was great. I thought that the Jey Uso, Damian Priest match was okay. That was I think that, in my opinion, was the worst match on that card. And it was still a relatively good match. I know it was harsh on before. King of the Ring. I thought that show was pretty good. It was overly predictable, but it was a pretty good match. A pretty good card. Clash of the Castle, there was a noticeable botch in every single match. They couldn't even get the world champion's name right or the right title. There was something wrong with the ropes. I heard that they were either too tight, too loose, too slick. But if they were too tight or too loose in the first match, there's this thing called a wrench, and you just go like this, and it tightens them or loosens them. I don't know what they needed to do.
Towel to wipe them off.
Apparently it was the electrical tape they used to wrap it or something along the lines. I don't know. And I'll tell you what, I feel like I'm nitpicking right now. I don't want to nitpick. I hated this first match. The Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles. I feel like the art of the I Quit match is completely lost now. And I'm not looking for Austin and I'm not looking for Austin Brett. That I understand that was a different match and that's not what I want to see recreated here. Though I thought they were going to go that route. I think the first I Quit match, if I'm not mistaken, was Sergeant Slaughter versus Pat Patterson, right?
I think that's the first one WWE ever did. I think they, or WWF. At the time, I think it was actually WWF.
And it was a back alley version of it, and I'm not saying he has to be a technical showcase because that match was fantastic. You want to see some carnage? Go check out that match. But what happened here is you have two of the most talented wrestlers in the world with this hot crowd. And the first thing they do is just powder around into the crowd and take it to the back where none of the people are. What are we doing here? And then they do no submission moves throughout the entire thing. These guys, I understand that they don't have a huge plethora of submission moves in their arsenal. But you're AJ Styles and you're Cody Rhodes.
I mean, they don't
just do them.
But one of Cody's signature moves is the figure four.
Sure.
And AJ used the calf crusher as an actual finisher for a really long time.
But they could have pulled out so many different things in that match. Keep it in the ring to a certain degree. You could have used chairs and other things to loosen up a knee and then go for that figure four or whatever you want to do. We introduced the Good Brothers to this series, and they don't even make an appearance during this. We see Cody's mom and AJ going toe-to-toe with her for some odd reason, though she has no outcome. I was sitting there being I think that she might throw in the towel for Cody. You have Cody passing out in the ring, but because he can't say I quit, he can't lose the match. What are we doing? Your most famous I Quit match ended with a pass out. Are you just protecting that match? Is that what we're doing here? And let's handcuff Cody to the ropes, but make sure that those keys are sitting right between his feet. Come on. And I think the thing that bothers me the most on this long laundry list of complaints for this match is it was just a watered down version of the Christian Cage Adam Copeland match. Even the end was Christian Cage was handcuffed. Copeland had that atrocity of a bat wrapped in barbed wire, which I can understand being afraid of. instead of steel steps, that AJ just quits like a punk. Like, it just didn't make any sense to me, and it ruined Clash of the Castles for me. It took me 2 matches for me to sit there and have to convince myself that I was enjoying the Sami Zayn Chad Gable match, because I was still mad about that first match. And then the Bloodline coming in at the end was such an afterthought and like a wasted moment. Like, this match, like, I don't plan on doing like the worst matches of the year, but this one might hit that for me, because it irritated the hell out of me. You guys are 2 talented athletes. I love both of these guys. And at the end of the day, I was just so disappointed in the product that was put in front of us.
So I'm going to put it to you this way, because we've talked about, especially if there's, I feel like there's a statute of limitations on, you can steal a match type of thing. And if it's been long enough, realistically, you can steal a match and no one will have seen that first match, but they'll see your match. You just said Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, absolute phenomenal technical wrestlers. And I'm not saying phenomenal just pun intended. Now then, obviously they are probably not going to put on the same I Quit match as Sarge and Pat Patterson, where Sarge and Pat are, though they are good wrestlers, they are also a little bit more on the brawling side of the world.
Definitely. And that was a insane. Again, if you haven't seen that match, go watch it. It's carnage.
I'm going to put it to you this way, because I can guarantee you, because I asked 20-something-year-olds if they had ever seen this match. If they stole, and when I say steal, I mean flat out, if they stole Magnum versus Tully, I would have been happy. They could have changed the ending just a little bit. But if we're going to talk about 2 guys that are great wrestlers, Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard are technicians. They were Rembrandt. They were artists. They were, it's Picasso and Rembrandt of the ring, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And they could have done that, and this would have been better. My issue with the ending of the match, that goddamn ending. Because if I recall correctly, Cody hit the crossroads and then handcuffed AJ, right? Like, if I recall the match correctly,
I think so, yeah.
Like, AJ was out. He drug him over to the ropes.
He hit him 3 times with it, right?
He always does, doesn't he?
He didn't last time when he beat AJ. He only hit it once.
Yeah. But my thing is, so AJ Styles is essentially out cold. He dragged him to the ropes to handcuff him to the ropes. And he only handcuffs one hand to the ropes, doesn't he? Because he can move around pretty well.
He's moving up and down on the ropes. He's not in the corner.
So I will give it to you this way, Showtime. And I know usually a lot of times there are certain things we disagree on, but a lot of times, as far as psychology and finishes, we tend to agree on. If Cody had come out and either handcuffed AJ around the turnbuckle post, let's say, and your arm is exposed, and now he's coming over with the chair or the stairs, and if you don't quit, whether you want to retire or not, I'm going to force you to retire, because I'm going to hit your arm so many times that you're going to have to go through so many surgeries that this is you're never coming back. You're 40-something years old. You're never coming back after this. I could have seen that. But just him standing in the corner and being scared of stairs that we've seen a million people get hit with.
AJ took next to no damage in this match.
Next to nothing.
It was all a beatdown of Cody.
Yeah.
And, I did enjoy, I know it was hard. I did enjoy the kendo stick spot where he really went to town on Cody. And the chair spot I thought was good too. But, AJ was in no shape to quit at that moment in time.
I don't understand it. And if your goal in this was to prove that Cody can go in and have a fight, I didn't see it. This wasn't Shawn Michaels versus Mankind.
He got his ass kicked.
And he didn't look, and even when he was going to hit him with, you can say, okay, he still hit him with the stairs after the match. I don't buy any of that. He didn't look like he looked trepidatious to do any of that stuff. This was not a good showing from Cody. I guess it was a better showing from AJ than from Cody, but it's still, you had him go out like a punk, like you said, and
like it lost all heat. Like it was just like now I don't even want to see AJ in right now. Like
that's what I'm saying. Thank God he's going over to Japan right now because he has to. He has to go over there and like not come back for a few weeks.
And we were talking about it earlier with the bleeding aspect of things. This is a prime example of Cody got his head hit into the ring bell, apparently. I didn't even know that's what happened there. I just know he was over in that area. We look at AJ for a couple seconds, and then Cody pops up, and he's bleeding. It's like, how did I miss that? Why does that seem important at this point in time? So yeah, I did not enjoy this match. It really ruined a lot of the pay-per-view.
I don't know a lot of people
that just skipped it.
I don't know a lot of people that did enjoy this match, and truthfully, I think a lot of people, the sentiment is the same thing. This match set a bad tone for the pay-per-view moving forward. If we're going off of predictions, this is the one time that
you're winning.
I'm winning. I'm winning as of right now. That's awesome. I'd rather not be winning off of this one.
I will say, WWE was wrong in this one, not me. Because the whole match, like even if Cody wins, I want to see Cody win in such a different way than what we saw here.
What we saw.
I'm glad I missed the mark on all of this because they were so far in the wrong direction.
Like there's no disqualification. What if he did his finisher is or his signature move is the figure four leg lock? What if after everything he handcuffs him around the turnbuckle and he does the old Bret Hart figure four around the turnbuckle post and he won't let go of it?
We'd see that.
You know, like he could have finished with that.
I could rewrite 1,000 matches that were better than that match.
I have just missed the mark. Matches that are better than that match.
Missed the mark completely for me. I think that I think they were trying to do a no holds barred match or a falls count anywhere match or literally any match but not quit match when they really planned that one out.
It was what it was. It's let's move on from that just because there was stuff on here that was okay. Next match up was Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, the women's champions, versus the Unholy Union, versus Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark.
Versus the Jamokes.
A lot of Jamoking in this match. This was another match that a lot of fans are getting on Jade, and we said this not on recording. I think Jade has a lot of eyes on her. And I think a lot of people, because she has a lot of eyes on her and because she did come from AEW, I think a lot of people do want to see her fail.
Yeah, I think she's a lot of unfair critics, and I'm not one of them, to be honest with you.
I think she does have a lot of unfair critics. Here's where I am going to. I don't want to say I'm agreeing with the unfair critics. I think Jade Cargill is a star. I think Jade Cargill is an amazing athlete. I am not sure. I guess the easiest way to liken this is to baseball. I don't know if Jade is necessarily a 5-tool player. I think she has a look. I think she has athleticism. I think she does cut a good promo. I think she has the character. The part that I am worried about, and I've said this to you in the past, is she did come into the game a little late. And I'm not sure if that is hurting her as far as picking it up. Picking up something new when you're in your 30s is a little bit harder than picking up something new when you're in your mid-20s. It just is. And I'm not saying she's not getting stuff better, but also she's putting on far different matches now than she was putting on in AEW. AEW, she was putting on squash matches. Here, she's trying to prove that she can wrestle. And unfortunately, I think that's where I'm questioning it. I think Jade is again, all those things I said she is, I think she's amazing at so much. And unfortunately, because of this harsh criticism, we might not ever know it, because I don't know if Jade's a great wrestler, and we might not ever find out because of the way. Unfortunately, I don't know if she has the time to develop into the great wrestler she could be, if she could be a great wrestler. But I do think that she gets undue criticism. I do agree with you on that. I also know where she's at. To give you an idea of her, of the age that I'm talking about, Braun Breaker, we've said this, he's 26 years old. He is he's not even close to hitting his stride yet. Jade is 32. It doesn't sound like it's that big of a gap. In the world of athletics, in the world of wrestling especially, that's a huge gap. That's light years.
I hear you on some of the things, but I really disagree with the majority of people in general. I think that they're bringing her along nicely. I think that she's doing some really, really talented stuff. I think that definitely her in-ring psychology is probably the thing that needs the most work. I hear you on that front, which is the reason why you put her in there with a stud like Bianca Belair to learn from firsthand. But at the end of the day, I think that I think people are rooting against her at this point in time. And I am not one of those people. Like, I think that not enough people are giving her enough credit for and I'm not saying you, Stephen, I'm talking about the royal people, whatever they do, like the collective of people, like not enough people are calling out, oh, she had that botch. It was so, but no one talks about how quickly she recovered and got right back into that match. They also don't talk about how AJ got a "you effed up" chant going on in the middle of his match, and then everyone's singing the praises of Damian Priest with his craziest botch I've ever seen in my entire life, I guess. Maybe not craziest I've ever seen, but like that was nuts. And how he rebounded it nicely, and they're not giving her the same kind of praise, and I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's justified. So I think she put on a good match. I think the problem with this match in general was they didn't know what story they wanted to tell. And I don't mean Belair and Cargill or any of the people in here. I don't think WWE or the collective group knew what story they wanted to tell. They wanted to put on a squash match, but then they also wanted to make sure that the Unholy Alliance won. They also wanted to make sure that Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark look strong, but make sure that we squash everybody by Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. And you can't have all those things in one match.
I also think that they wanted to get those titles off of Bianca and Jade, and this was the perfect opportunity to do it. I do agree with you with that. Just so we're saying this, Showtime got this. I'm sorry, Talent Name got this episode, or this
Talent Name
got this prediction correct.
Of course they did.
I do believe that this was.
You go into Scotland and have no Scottish people win.
I think this was the perfect opportunity to take the titles off of Jade and Bianca, because it was going to be hard to do otherwise. The other thing about this is I don't think Bianca and Jade are going to go anywhere near those titles from now on.
I was surprised on that, because I was assuming that they'd be right back to take them right back. And they didn't, because I don't think I don't think that they should be taking these titles off them yet, because there's other things going on within the women's titles that Jade and Bianca don't fit into those storylines today. So unless you're going to start building up them versus each other, which I think still should be,
it's
almost
still a
year
premature.
Away, like having the tag team titles on them and having them just like running through people, I think it's the best way to use them. Maybe have a couple close calls. The close call that they had here wasn't that, because they had been essentially squashing the Unholy Union and Shayna Baszler and Zoe Starks the whole time, and then one shot and there's Jamokin over the corner, which just didn't make any sense.
A lot of Jamokin. I will say this: you, Showtime, you brought this up on a before we came on, and that's you didn't think that Michael Cole should have brought up Jade looking like she was accidentally tapping.
She wasn't tapping. I don't care what anyone says. So essentially, what I had said to Steve is that Jade tapped out. Like everyone's like, she tapped out. She didn't tap out. Like people don't tap and then stop tapping. Like if I'm going to either, and they do in her situation because she got knocked out because like in that rear naked choke that she was getting, or sleeper hold, whatever.
The Karafuda clutch, if you will.
Yeah. Well, she was signaling to Shayna, yo, ease up, like
so.
This is the end of the match.
I also don't think that was, and again, we're not saying this in the sense that Shayna is a dangerous worker. Let's not forget this was the end of the match, and they're both, neither one of them are small women in the sense of they're not Alexa Bliss, they're not Liv Morgan. These are bigger, heavier girls, and I'm not saying like heavy in the sense that they're heavy. They're athletic women that by the end of that match, if Shayna hung on her at all, that's going to pull on her. And I think that was what she was trying to signal to her more than anything.
It was just a light tap. Like you tap out in a submission move, you're making sure that the referee sees you because you are in a immense amount of pain. That is not what happened in that situation.
So the only thing that is good from that coming from this is going forward into Raw, it did build a storyline for Shayna and Zoe to go after the Unholy Union because they said it looked like Jade had tapped, and the week previous, Shayna and Zoe had beaten the hell out of the Unholy Union. I get it. Like that's cool. It's a nice way to turn what had happened into a good storyline. This also goes along with I don't think Bianca and Jade are going to go back near these titles. I will put it to you this way. I understood what they were trying to do with tag teaming her with Bianca to maybe cover up some of her weaknesses right now. And again, I'm not bashing Jade. I'm saying she does have weaknesses, and by having her in a tag team, it does cover up a little bit. I'm going to go the other route on this one, and I don't want her wrestling Bianca just yet. I want them to still be friends. I want them to still tag team every so often. I think it might be better for Jade to get in there with a Piper Niven, to get in there with some of these other women who are super experienced to lead the match so that she can learn how the match should be led a little bit better. If what her weakness is ring psychology, she needs to be in there with generals, not someone who's on her team holding her hand so much. Especially since, and I love Bianca. Bianca only recently got it. Like she was putting on great matches, but she was putting on great matches a lot of times because she was a great athlete. It's only been in the last year or two that Bianca really started getting it as far as storytelling goes. So I would like to see coming out of this, if they're not going to have Bianca and Jade go back after the tag team titles, I'd like to see Jade get in there and maybe have a program with like a Piper Niven or somebody who can really, really help mold her and can carry the load as far as the feud goes and teach her, hey, we do this way because of that. And I think she would come out a million times better for that than going back to the Performance Center. That's stupid. Or even going back into the tag team championships.
But even in the tag team champions, they could easily do that with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, and have the like that be the way you do it still in the tag team. Like I just don't know what you do with Jade and Bianca right now because you have Bayley building up to Nia, you have Liv building up to whatever it is she's building up to right now. Like
Not really a match, just a storyline blow off.
Yeah, like she's just carrying that belt around for the look of it at this point in time. So I'm not 100% sure what they're building towards on that front, and I just don't see how Jade and Bianca fit into it. Whereas them dominating the tag team division is a good look for them. So that's just the way I see it. I'm not saying that you're wrong by any means, because I really don't know what they're going to do with them next. Because I
have no idea.
The fact that Shayna Baszler and Zoe Starks were the number one contenders, that really threw me through a loop because I really thought that there was going to be a rematch of the Unholy Union versus Cargill and Belair on Raw, and they were going to drop the belts the next night. Like I really thought that was the way that was going. Though the way this match ended, I called exactly right, where you had Jade and Bianca putting down Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, and then having the Unholy Union come in and just steal that win like you do.
Steal that win. My thing with the Unholy Union, I know you said you wanted like some mysticism, which we get this later on in what we'll be talking about. I feel like the Unholy Union, I don't mean for this show. I mean just in general for wrestling. I feel like the Unholy Union are not they're not doing too much witch stuff anymore.
Yeah, they're not witches anymore. They're just Scottish.
They're wily temptresses now, like more than anything else. That tempt you in a wily manner.
I guess so. Yeah, they're missing the unholy part.
Yeah, right. All right, so moving on.
Union.
They're just a union. They're the union. Wait, we saw that already. It was terrible. It was Test and Mick Foley and Big Show with 2x4s. Such a terrible stable. All right. So we get Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable for the IC title. This is another one that Showtime was right on. I actually think that this is the time I'm going to say it. I wasn't wrong. WWE was wrong on this one.
I disagree.
I think and the fact that they almost were gonna, it almost seemed like they were gonna pull the trigger on Sammy Chad like 4 at this point on Raw.
Yeah, it really did seem like that.
And I was like, don't do this again. And I liked. We'll go over Raw a little bit more later, but I do like that on Raw when they talk about Gable, they said he, in the last couple months since Mania, or since just before Mania, he's had 5 Intercontinental title opportunities, and he hasn't been able to cash in on any of them. Which is kind of what I said going into this, which is why I said it might be Chad. Like, hey, like, why have this match again?
Gotta keep hedging your bets.
Yep. All right, so I will say this. This was a good match.
This is the match that I had to convince myself I was enjoying to get me out of my funk, because I was enjoying it.
I enjoyed this match.
I had to pull myself out of my funk.
I had no doubt that I was going to enjoy this match. I like Chad Gable. I like Sami Zayn. I like El Generico a little bit better, but that's just because Sammy stole all his moves. Big jerk. But I really like Chad Gable.
This match is what opened my eyes to who the MVP of the night was, and that was Corey Graves. If you guys were listening to him throughout this broadcast, he was absolutely phenomenal. He didn't speak all that much, but when he did, it was really, really good. And my favorite part is the way he framed Sammy up as the bad guy in the match, which was great. On how Sammy is someone who sticks his nose into other people's business and breaks up strong alliances from the inside out. He did it with the Bloodline. If it wasn't for Sammy and being in the Bloodline would still be together, and Roman would probably still be champion. You'd have Jay and Jimmy Uso still potentially tag team champions, and Solo would still be, I don't know, Solo standing in the background birding. But at the same time, with all of that, like, Sammy's doing the same thing. He's sticking his nose into Chad's business and Alpha Academy's business, telling other people the way they should and shouldn't act, and it's none of his business.
None of his business.
He's just there to make mayhem and then look like the good guy afterwards. I get it, Corey. You nailed it, Corey. You nailed it.
I absolutely loved Corey Graves during this whole show. I love Corey Graves in general. I think Corey Graves is kind of like an unsung hero for WWE currently, just in general. This match also, as you said, this match kind of got them back on track for the show.
There was a botch in this one too. Sammy couldn't get Chad over the top rope.
It's not as big of a deal, but it's still a big deal.
Not as big of a deal, but it's still noticeable after I saw it in the first two matches, and I see it in the next two too.
Sammy wins. Sammy goes over clean. This sets up the whole Alpha Academy leaving. We'll get more into that as we cover Raw. I think a lot of people, I thought you needed to like really, really pull the trigger on it either here or on Raw. It's getting everything that was involved with Gable and Alpha Academy. It's just getting drawn out too long now. I think we need to figure out what we're doing with it.
The way they handled it on Raw made me really wish they would have done it big at Clash, because that would have made things better. But they still kind of tiptoed around it where like Otis pushed him, got everybody out of there. Did he fully turn his back on him? Sure, they were leaving. But at the same time, they didn't really build the fact that the two of them need to fight. And I think that needs to be the next step for Chad is have a nice little feud with Otis. But that's not what happened, and it's more like we're just going to go separate ways, which is lame because you've been building this up for a very long time for
like a Journey song.
Yeah. We should have better payoff.
So again, I thought this match was good. I thought this was the match. This match once again, this is one of those situations. This match did exactly what I thought it was going to do. Mm-hmm. You had two guys that are awesome. I will say this. The Chaos Theory German suplex that Chad Gable does is amazing.
So dope. I love that thing so much.
So cool. And every time, and there's never a point that I see it that I'm like, oh, that's stupid. No, every time I see it, cool. It doesn't matter who he does it to. Mm-hmm. It is, and the bridge he gets on that, just 100%. Come on, man.
I echo all of that. It's so cool looking.
I would like to see them. And I know they've turned Chad a little bit more serious. I'd like to see them get him be kind of real serious. Like real serious. Like I don't want any more shushes. I don't want him to even come out to that music anymore. I want him to just be a much more even the stuff that he's been doing with like bashing them is still kind of, I don't want to say bad comedy, but it almost seems comedic at times.
It's time to move on. I think what they need to do is they need to get him aligned with the Creed brothers. I think they need to bring Kurt Angle in to be his manager and just go all for it, even though he did.
Yep. Like I said, we like this match. Let's move on to the next match, which I like this match. Bayley.
Great.
Bayley versus Piper Niven. I thought this was a good match. I thought everything they did in this match was top notch. I thought Piper Niven looked great in this. I thought Bayley looked great in this. I thought this match is a victim of everything that they are doing wrong with Bayley since January. Everything.
Facts. Preach.
You have your women's Royal Rumble winner, not even on the poster for Mania. There's barely any build-up for her and Io Sky. There were SmackDowns where like they weren't on it, wasn't there? Going into Mania?
I mean, they did quite a few matches with Damage Control, but it was just Damage Control beating her down, and it wasn't until I think one or two SmackDowns before the show, before WrestleMania, where they brought Naomi in, which she should have been brought in way earlier with this story.
Well, I just mean in general, like it kind of felt like she made her choice on who she was going after, and it felt like her and Io were really only on SmackDown almost like every other week. Like they weren't even there all the time.
I think it was more than that. I can't confirm or deny it, but like it's been a minute. I haven't really thought about Mania in a minute.
And again, it could, but like even going into this, like it almost feels like going into this, there's still not enough credit being given to Bayley. Like Bayley is holding this title until Nia can win it at SummerSlam.
This program felt very AEW-esque to me. Like, oh, let's just put them together. This will be fun.
It'll be a good match.
Like, and I think there was actually a moment in time when like where Piper kicked out of something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but like she had done something or reversed something where it's like, oh, do you know what? Piper might win this. So there was some like at the end of that match, I think it went really well. I think that what Michael Cole called what she did was like a crucifix bomb, which wasn't. It was Piper doing a Samoan drop that turned into a crucifix from Bayley, but whatever. So like I really like this match overall. I think this was a great like tease or lead up for Bayley to go and fight Nia next. Like you fight a big woman now, we'll fight a big woman at SummerSlam. So that's all good. I just would like to see a little bit more Chelsea Green. Oh, sorry, Chelsea Green. Favorite part of the whole thing, her coming down with the Rey Mysterio or whoever that was at the end with the Rey Mysterio mask on, was fantastic. And honestly, I wish she would have gotten a little bit more involved. I think that Chelsea Green is someone who is one of the most underrated performers in WWE right now. I think that
she leans into it too.
Yeah, she makes the most out of every single opportunity she gets. Like you give her 37 seconds, she'll figure out how to stand out in that 37 seconds. I absolutely love what she's doing there. I wish they would actually make her a little bit more serious. I think did we both have her in our Money in the Bank? I had her or Piper.
I think we both have Chelsea.
Yeah, like I would like to see her. Like I would love to see her win this. I don't think she's going to, but I would love to see her be the one that takes that down. So I enjoyed this. I thought it was a great match. I think the fans were pretty funny because like they didn't know who to root for during the match because Bayley is huge in Europe and Piper's the hometown girl. So I think that they kind of settled into Piper towards the end, but it was a great match and I would watch it again.
Exactly. I would definitely watch this again. To go along with them kind of, and again, I don't know if this is as much WWE dropping the ball on Bayley. I know you and I talked about this a little bit before this, and that was, I don't know if Bayley works as a babyface right now because she doesn't do too much different right now as a babyface than she did as a heel. And like as an annoying heel, everything worked. But when your music and your Titantron still says, is it still called the Titantron even though they don't have Titan Tower? I'm going to call it the Titantron.
Yeah, you're good.
That's fine. So if your video package though when you're coming out still says the words role model and that was your annoying heel gimmick, like this just goes back to maybe they're not changing things up enough with her. And even the beginning of the build up for her kind of turning face was more her just whining that her friends were being mean to her. And I don't know, maybe that was the start of it just not clicking the right way. I wouldn't mind seeing Bayley go back to being a heel or doing some hosting stuff or something. I don't know. I feel like I want to like her more than, and again, I just don't think I like the stuff she's doing right now.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the fact that she's not getting the support backstage that she needs to redefine her character, or she's not doing enough work. I'm not going to point fingers at anybody, but there is something missing. I'm not sure what it is. But you're right. Like she doesn't seem to change. No one seems to be invested in her. The whole thing seems a little fun. But like, let's put the women's championship on her. Like that seems like the right move there. yeah, this whole run that she's currently having is kind of flat. They've completely dismantled damage control now that she's out of it too. Like, it's embarrassing what the damage control has turned into. So, I'm not quite sure what's next here. I would like to see Bayley step it up. I like her as champion. I like her style. I like her wrestling. I would just like to see a much better story out of what she's trying to do. What is her redemption arc now that she's a good guy? Like, you're such a big heel for so long. What's your redemption angle? She doesn't have one. She's just like me. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a good guy now.
I'm good now. You can cheer me.
Hey, I
Baby.
I know I told you guys that you were terrible before, but now you fans are okay.
I wanna know. Come on, let's get a redemption arc here.
Let's do it. All right. So moving on from Bayley Piper Niven, we get the main event: Damian Priest, El Campeón, the World Heavyweight Champion, versus Drew McIntyre. And we both agreed there was no way Damian Priest was not walking out with this title.
It just didn't make business sense. Like, he and CM Punk can fight at SummerSlam. If Drew comes back, he could fight yet. Like, just teases. They could fight at SummerSlam, and it could be a really good match. They don't need the title. You don't want Gunther taking down Drew anyway in that way that he would. I think Gunther is near guaranteed to beat Damian Priest. Though I think that Priest has been having a really good title run with this. I love the stuff with the Judgment Day right now. The thing that I wish they would just do with him is make him a face or make him a heel. Like, let's stop bouncing back and forth between this. And we'll get more into that next. But this, like, he's doing fantastic work in the ring, on the mic. Just stick to a lane. Let's stop flip-flopping.
Exactly. But this match, we'll talk about the match, or we'll talk about the botch. To go along with the botch, the cover up for the botch was
fantastic.
Sick.
Yeah.
They everyone who needed to help cover up what happened did such a good job of actually covering it up that you almost forget about it. Again, Corey Graves.
I don't know how you forget about that.
But again, Corey Graves, all-star. Drew McIntyre, all-star. The referee, all-star. Damian Priest selling his leg afterwards when they probably weren't going to work his leg during that match. All-star. This is all top-level work. This is, when we talk about pivoting during a match, this is a pivot during a match. This is
so good.
They covered this up, and the match itself was good. I knew this match was going to be good. This match kind of didn't have any choice but to be good. I don't mind watching two big bulls go at it when they're two big athletic bulls like this.
Him hanging upside down from his ankle was gruesome. I would have bet money that he dislocated his ankle the way he was upside down. I know a lot of people were worried about his knee, but like, you got 230 something pounds hanging from your ankle. You got it's a lot of weight to really, really hurt him. But it seems like he's perfectly fine, which is great. He did like a one-legged crucifix bomb. It's not the Razor's Edge. Stop calling it that.
This was the actual crucifix bomb.
Yeah, like, you could do that when he pins people with it. So, like, overall, I thought this was great. And then you can't get past this match without mentioning CM Punk and how CM Punk screwed him again. Though Wade Barrett needs to take it down a notch on saying that this is the biggest screw job in WWE history. Even more so than the Montreal screw job. No one is ever going to call this the Scotland screw job. So, like, this is nowhere close to that.
Also, this wasn't even as big as the Rawway screw job.
Let's move past that one. But like this wasn't that big of a deal. I think they could have incorporated CM Punk a little bit better, in my opinion. I like him coming out from underneath the ring or coming from the crowd rather than coming down as the referee. It almost felt like they made it seem like CM Punk wasn't going to do something until he saw the opportunity, though he was always going to go in there just to mess with Drew. Like that was always going to happen. So the way that they kind of played it up is almost like, I wasn't going to, but now I see my window, so let me go do it. No, you were always going to do it. That was part of the plan. Like, you're fooling no one. So like that's like my only real critique of this match, but I thought it was fantastic. Again, Damian Priest I think was the right call, and what this means is that I once again beat you in predictions, Steven. You should be embarrassed.
So
Name. I don't even have a name anymore, and I still beat
listen,
you.
Listen, talent, or do you prefer name?
Mr. Name, thank you.
Mr. Name. So before we move on from this, I do like one thing one of the things that I did like with the CM Punk part of it though was, so this was the first time since basically Royal Rumble that Drew has actually laid hands on Punk, like grabbing him and pushing him into the corner. We saw Punk obviously, do the stuff at Mania, but as far as like a nice slow burn for this, we've gotten a really, really nice, this has been a nice pace for this feud all around. And when they finally get to lock horns and fight, this should be nice. I think this is gonna be.
Can't wait.
And once again, who's this? I'm gonna hark back on Mr. Name's opinion from pre-Mania, and that's
always right.
Drew McIntyre's a babyface.
He's a face. Like, how are you not rooting for him? Like the whole time, he's the good guy, and I get that he was in Scotland, and like Rhea was the face in Australia, whatever. But he's clearly the face here. He has been the whole time. He's been doing nothing but telling the truth. Lying. He hasn't been cheating to win. I don't understand what else he needs to do to be considered a face.
Who knows? All right, so
winner chicken dinner.
Moving on from a mid pay-per-view, mid at best.
Boo.
Moving on from that to a banger of a Raw.
This was an impressive Raw, I will say.
This was a Raw where they said, "We're sorry. We know we didn't do everything that we should have done at Clash. So let's make up for this." And you open the show with the returning Seth Rollins.
Burn it down! And
man, was that crowd hot for him.
Oh, yeah, it was exciting. I did not see this coming. We're pretty locked in right now. I didn't hear one little leak that he was showing up. I didn't hear anything about that. I was plumb surprised.
And I loved every aspect of it. And Priest coming out and them having their interaction and how it went about that. Now we have Rollins versus Damian Priest for the world title at Money in the Bank. I actually thought that flowed very organically. Like how they did it was really good. Again, I like Priest being allowed to be a little bit more natural in the ring with the microphone and everything. I thought they had a really good interaction, and I couldn't think of a better way to start off this Raw than what they did.
I dig that whenever someone brings up Priest's name, he comes out and confronts them. He does it every single time. He's not one of those people that'll sit in the back and let you run your mouth. Like, you want to talk to me, I'll come out there and I'll talk to you. I dig that a lot. Though this is another one of those, like, love fests between Seth and Priest. Priest, you run the biggest heel faction on Raw. What do we got to do to make you, like, hit Rollins with that that belt at the end of it. I just don't know what they're trying to do with him in this run because he's doing all the respect stuff every single time that he faces somebody now. That gets a little old with me. I just want you to be a heel or a face. Just pick one and get out of the Judgment Day and be a face. Be the big badass you are in the Judgment Day and stay there. I don't care which one it is. Just pick one, please.
I wouldn't mind if he left the Judgment Day and was just the big badass that he was, and like
sure,
just did the same thing, just without that.
Just pick one. I don't care which one it is. Just stop. It's not even like he's being a tweener. So you can call Drew McIntyre a tweener if you like to, but he's not even doing that. One week he's a face, the other week he's a heel. It just doesn't make any sense.
They got to figure out something with it. They have to figure out which way he's going with this. So Otis and Alpha Academy are shown quitting. Well, shown leaving. As we said, they didn't really quit so much as they just left. And it leaves a little bit of a door for them to either come back in or for Chad to weasel back in, except for the fact that he's dead. We'll get into more of that later. I thought this wasn't as big of a, because this wasn't as big of a blow off between them as maybe it should be. I think this gives them an opportunity. This is going to give Chad an opportunity to kind of weasel his way back in a little bit, especially with the way the end of the episode goes. I'll go into a little bit of my theory on that one later. A lot of notice was put into Finn hiding the hotel key. Again, talent name, if you will. Formerly known as Mr. Showtime. The artist formerly known as Showtime Michael Wright.
Talent name.
Has kind of been predicting this. I am going to say this. Again, WWE likes to do stuff like this. We're big believers that they are funneling fake news into the world. I could see this maybe swerving a little bit differently than even we had said originally, where this might be a situation where maybe Finn, Dom, and Liv all go off to the other side of the road. Or like they're painting Finn as this red herring type situation. Because now that it's becoming a little bit obvious that Finn is constantly there, I think this might turn into a little bit more of a Finn getting accused of this, and it has to come out that maybe it's not him, or he's not doing anything wrong.
And how good that storyline would be if he happened to hold the Money in the Bank briefcase.
I'm hoping that'll happen. I think that could still happen.
I don't know. Like, there might be a last chance battle royal or something like that, but not to jump to the end yet. But there was a Money in the Bank qualifier match between Jey Uso, Rey Mysterio, and Finn Balor, and of course, main event, Jey Uso won. Not that he shouldn't win, I just think that Finn Balor should also be in that match.
I do think that Finn should be in there. I think we both have. Actually, no, I didn't have Finn on mine.
I had Finn. We both had Jey Uso because it sounded like he declared for it, and there wasn't going to be a qualifier match. But then we did the match that he clearly was going to win because he said, "I'm going to be in that match."
That part. Again, it was a good match. Going back to Finn and Dom and that whole situation, I said this before, when Priest turns the corner and Dom is taking the vest off of Liv, Dom looks like the kid that just got busted, like making whoopee on his parents' bed with like his girlfriend, like his dad walked in.
Making whoopee?
Making whoopee. Don't make whoopee with your socks on. He hates that. But I love what they're doing right now. It's funny. It was like the week after we said we weren't into Liv stuff, and all of a sudden she was like, "Oh, okay. How about this?"
Yeah.
And now it's top notch. The Uso qualifying for Money in the Bank. Again, I thought it was a good match. I'm
Rey
hoping
Mysterio
that
was great in this match.
I'm hoping that this doesn't disqualify Finn Balor from being in the Money in the Bank. I think I wouldn't mind seeing that. I wouldn't
Maybe the
mind seeing Finn
Demon
getting the world title
qualifies?
again, or getting a world title again. Doesn't matter which one it is at this point.
Oh, I want to see him go after a Priest.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So one of the cooler segments, just in general, and matches, we got Braun Breaker versus Sheamus. I like that Sheamus kept calling Braun Kid. That was a big thing. That's kind of what ticked him off. We also
This-
had, there was a lot of
This
implication for the IC title on this one.
this match caught me off guard a little bit. You know, we talked about Jade not so long ago, but like the squash match to an actual match transition is tough. I was watching this match thinking, man, just a couple weeks ago he was going in so quickly and just dominating people, but now he's in a fight with Sheamus. He starts really, really slow and cautiously. It just seems like a hard transition into going from, I know he's fighting developmental talent versus fighting someone who's as serious as Sheamus, but at the same time, it's a little jarring. And I thought this match was a little slow, and there's some slow parts about it. I enjoyed what they did, but I really wanted that beginning to be a lot faster.
I also think that it went a little bit slower just because I don't think Sheamus has it in him to go at his old match speed. I hate to say it like this.
That's fair.
I think that might have been a little bit more to it than anything else.
Someone who could run the ropes 23 miles an hour needs to work a bit of a faster match.
So I will say this. They've been building for years and years, or for basically 2 years now, about Sheamus going after the IC title. It's the only title he's never held. Come back from a couple of major injuries now. I'm not going to say he's in bad shape whatsoever, but he's not in the same great shape he used to be in. I think if we're going, I think that if they are going to do something where Sheamus, I wouldn't mind seeing Sheamus win the IC title and just calling it a career. Like, this is the one thing I've been building to this for 2 years, over 2 years now. Literally a WrestleMania and like a bunch of other shows. I've been trying to get that IC title. I can't get it. I couldn't get it. If he gets that title, I could see him coming out and be like, okay, it's time to call it a career. And I wouldn't mind it, and I honestly wouldn't be mad about it. Now, at the same time, if they put the IC title on Braun Breaker, I also wouldn't be mad about this.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone else that was watching that show, can we take a second to mourn the passing of Ludwig Kaiser?
He deserved every bit of that.
Because he is dead. Like, all those people who looked like they were dead at the end of the show, Ludwig Kaiser might actually be dead. And where we maybe pan TNA a little bit for their production value, this is where I praise WWE, because the camera angle to pull out exactly how they did for that spear was awesome. The timing on it was perfect. But I love everyone involved in what seems to be making up this storyline. I love Braun Breaker. I love Sheamus. I even like Ludwig Kaiser. I think he's come into his own a lot in the last couple of weeks. And we both love Sami Zayn. So I think this could definitely be something cool. I think this could build into something really, really cool. Now then, on to the two most important things from Raw, as far as I'm concerned.
I've had enough of this. I quit.
Drew quit. Allegedly.
Allegedly
he quit. I said this to you already. I think that this quitting would have been might be a little bit more believable, might be easier to swallow, if you will. if they didn't make such a big deal about The Rock giving him a Claymore to go along with his re-signing.
Yes, him signing a new contract is a little hiccup there, but this goes back to the face that Drew is. The fact that he's the one that got fined and CM Punk isn't, because Drew got fined because after air,
Putting
he
his hands
attacked
on the ref.
on the ref and stuff, and Corey Graves and Wade Barrett had to come out here and kind of like talk some sense into him, and so the fact that he got a fine, but CM Punk didn't for interfering in the match is definitely unjust. Not the biggest screw job of all time, Wade, chill out, but at the same time, still a screw job. It's still a screw job. I'll give you that. It fits in that realm. But does it? Because he was never really a real ref, and so he had no way to have any power there. Never mind. I don't have to go down that tangent. But he seems to be getting like the short end of every straw humanly possible. And so he needs to figure out what's what. But at the same point, I think you and I both agree that we're probably going to see him on SmackDown on Friday.
I don't see any world where CM Punk shows up on Friday in Chicago on SmackDown and Drew isn't there in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
I think even going along with this quitting story work, I think how you make this seem a little bit more realistic is Drew comes out of the crowd and attacks him and gets restrained by actual security guards, like not the guardians of the independent wrestling scene. You see actual security guards kind of holding him back, and like maybe he gets carted off in handcuffs even.
I could see that, though. I think that the one thing that makes me think that he might not be in SmackDown on Thursday on Friday in Chicago is because his wife was rushed into emergency surgery. She might need some time with him around, and we wish her the speediest of recoveries.
Definitely, obviously, yes.
Yeah, and so that's one of those things where I could see, and like him taking a couple weeks off, I think doesn't hurt the heat of this feud.
I don't think so. It
just kind of builds it a little bit more.
And including the fact that he's taken everything off of social media right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he suspended everything. Which
he deleted it, or it looks like he deleted his social media accounts.
Which, again, come on, Drew. Stop doing such great work. You're making everyone else look bad. But also, don't stop doing such great work because you're making everyone else look bad.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. He might be my favorite wrestler of right now.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
Him and R-Truth, yeah. Slight nod to Joe Hendry.
Yeah, he's working on it.
All right. And obviously what everyone is going to be talking about for a little bit, they're here. The White Six debut.
Sick. SICK6.
So I think it's actually supposed to be SICKS, but they styled the S like a 6. I thought this was awesome, by the way. You said you want some mysticism and some craziness.
I don't think this is mysticism. This is more like
I think this is a little bit of psychological
they're coming out of the
warfare.
Swamps. Yeah, and deliverance feeling.
So here is the thing. They showed a lot of people taken out during this entrance.
Chad Gable, he dead.
Chad Gable's dead. One of the guys was Gunther.
Was it Gunther? It was so hard to tell.
So during the scene, because it took me a second to realize it, and I've looked at it on pictures on social media now where you can really tell. The picture with Gunther, it's actually Gunther and Carmelo Hayes are both like lying there. So here's my thing.
I heard Cody Triple H.
I've heard Cody. I've heard Triple H.
Nick Khan.
I don't know if Nick Khan was definitely one of them. I will say this. One of the things that they did really nicely, and it starts with the Drew quitting scene, was they made sure to follow him through Gorilla and show how nice and pristine Gorilla looked, to plant the seed that when it was all destroyed. I am going to put it this way. I think everything that they showed was psychological.
Yes.
I think it didn't happen. None of it happened. The only thing that happened was them walking out. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, because it doesn't make sense for them to run roughshod over the entirety of that backstage area and then not, like, kind of keep doing it. I had, someone had said to me today, literally, about, since the show has aired, that they should run roughshod over everything now. And I agree with them. If this is what they're doing, if they have no alliance, they're just going to be a chaos factor. Yes, they should do it. But if they were going to do that, they should do it on NXT for the week. They should do it at SmackDown for the week as well. They should also, I even said, have them go to TNA at this point. If you're going to have that working relationship with TNA, but I don't think that's what this is. I think this is where I say it's psychological and mysticism, or just pure. I believe this is just, this was images that were put out and then they showed up where, and I think that's, so where I talked about Otis and the Alpha Academy leaving, I think these images are going to be how Chad gets back in the good graces of Otis and the rest of the Alpha Academy. At first, is they're going to feel bad that they saw the picture of Chad all bloodied up, and it's going to spark, pull on their heartstrings, and that's going to be how that part of the storyline moves. I think the majority of what we saw there was completely some sort of fabrication. This was the Firefly Funhouse. This wasn't real life. None of this happened. Because if it did happen, they're going to have to continue doing it over and over and over.
I dig where you're coming from. I think it happened. I like your idea. I like it better than it actually happening is playing those mind games, which is super cool. But I think it actually happened. I think you're going to see them come through and they're going to tear up SmackDown. I think you're going to see them come through and they're going to tear up NXT. I don't think you'll see them in TNA. But then
I think that would be cool though. Like, I think if they went in there and tore up, specifically like the Hardys, if they went in there, and because Matt has the former relationship, and were tag team partners with Bray, and they almost play off that, you're the one that ruined my brother. When you became, instead of being broken and when you were woken, you ruined my brother. And I could see them, again, I don't think it's going to happen either. I think it'd be awesome. But if you're going to run roughshod on everybody, I think they need to run roughshod on everyone.
I hear you.
I also think that it would be cool because of this group, the only one who didn't show up on their debut was Alexa Bliss. I would like to see if Alexa is going to be a part of this and they show up down at NXT. The only title for, we can call them whatever they are, they still have their lineages. Alexa's never won the NXT women's title, and I wouldn't mind seeing that as like a nice little tip of the cap for it.
But this was a great introduction. Really good. Having them here, I'm curious who they were going to feud with first. Like, I know that they took a whole bunch of people out, and the line is long to get revenge. I'm curious to see if they show up on SmackDown and they're not actually show committed to Raw. And I'm excited to see where they take this next. Now that we have real people. Now they're not just QR codes. There's real people here, I think. Unless Steve's right, and they're not. real.
I'm also really excited to see this. So the other problem with that is if they like them running roughshod like that, that kind of just guarantees you being heels, right? Like they have to be heels. But unfortunately, they have so much because of the Bray connection and it being his brother. They got cheered a lot.
Yeah, you don't have to be heels in that sense. Like they could still be that kind of murderous kind of people that get cheered. They can figure it out. Like they won't be cheating to win, but they can still be as vicious as possible because it's in their DNA kind of stuff.
Again, very excited to see where they go with this. I thought this was a cool debut. I thought this Raw in general was awesome.
Phenomenal.
This was better than the Raw after Mania. I thought this was the best Raw we've seen probably since WrestleMania, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this was, hey, we're really, really sorry that we didn't fully deliver in Scotland. So here you go. Here's making up for it a little bit. And they kind of did. They made me feel okay about this one.
I'm excited to see what comes out of this one. Like you set the stage well. Let's see how you stick the landings.
Well, that was Raw. That's the week in wrestling for right now. We don't have any questions or mailbag stuff to go by. But as always, folks, if you've been listening to us, thank you. Please follow us on social media. Follow if you have any questions. All of our email information will be in all of our descriptions for the show. If you are listening and you are not following us, please follow us. It is the one way that you can absolutely help this show out without it costing any money whatsoever. All you have to do is, if you're already listening to us, just hit that follow or hit that subscribe on YouTube. We love putting the show out. We do it every week. We will continue to do it. But I know I'm speaking for both of us in this case, Mr. Name over there as well. But we have had a lot of fun doing this, and we will continue to do it. And we just want to keep getting to as many people as we can. And the best way to do that, again, like you said, hit that follow, hit that like, hit that subscribe, all that stuff. But other than that, we will be back next week to go over Forbidden Door predictions and see where we go from a hell of a Raw, basically.
Yep. See what they do next. Wanted to thank all of you for listening. Thank you for supporting us through this show, and we couldn't appreciate you guys more.
Folks, this has been our landmark 20th episode. I know it doesn't seem like as much of a landmark for some of y'all, but we didn't know if we were going to start it originally. So for 20 episodes, that's a big deal for us. We're still here. Thanks for listening to us. We're still here. Thanks for being here with us. And we'll see you. Overreact. We'll see everybody next week, and have a good night. Have a good one all.